All right, guys. It's been a little bit. We did that interview with Rocky Mountain last week, and we did that Chris Crane the week before, but we haven't had just a regular podcast. Corey has an election coming up on Tuesday. This week coming up, so he's really involved in that. So it's just back to the original two guys. So we got Colin and myself, Cody. So in the pre-show, we were talking about some ideas, but go ahead, Colin. What do you think? What do you want to go with first?
Well, one, I would say that, just in my day-to-day life or just trying to talk, it seems that most people are allergic to current events, or maybe allergic is not the right word. They're not really picking up on any signals. Remember, we were talking about signal jamming. No one really knows what to believe anymore. I think that's more widespread than it's ever been. I don't know of anyone who isn't confused right now, and I don't think that's ever happened. Now, everyone should have always been confused, but a lot of people had a lot of certainty of their worldview because they watch their talking head on TV that tells them how it all works, so that makes them feel good about their baseline knowledge of reality. So, when I was growing up, people would listen to Glenn Beck, and Glenn Beck tells it how it is, and that's how the world works. And it's like, and that's all the information you need because it worked with your cosmology, whether typically a Christian cosmology or right wing conservative cosmology. If that doesn't work for you, you pick your another flavor of coffee. Um, but right now, there's so many different flavors that no one really knows what to pick or who to pick. And God bless the boomers, they're stuck on basic television still. But even they're kind of I think they've kind of started to realize something's weird about this whole thing. But also, I think they're kind of not thinking about it too much. They're probably thinking about their families and more important stuff. They're starting to phase out slowly but surely.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah.
So where does that leave
Can
the
you be
rest of
more?
us
Can you be more specific? What are we? What do you mean by that? So
specifically?
you're
I'm talking about anything. Like people don't know. I mean, we could. I mean, basic history is up for grabs.
okay.
People watching Iran, people are like, "Are we at war? Or are we not at war? Is there a deal? Is there not a deal? Like, is there? What's going on with the Chinese? What's going on with the Russians? Like, what uh, do we have? Our elections secured? I mean, no, but you know, everything has been shaken in terms of your comfort or your ability to trust in what I would call baseline reality. Um, in terms of no one can tell, like, people have really very little assurity as to what is real anymore, and that's a problem. And I
Well, it's
don't
like the.
know.
It seems to me like the graphs I get. It's like the little boy who cried wolf. Except for there's so many wolves. Which one's the real one? It's like
Or
sensory
who's a
overload. It
little
seems.
or who's a little boy, or is a little boy real, or is he an alien, or like, it's who knows. Like at this point, it's worse than just because you're trained to track stories as a child. If your parents loved you enough to read you stories before bed, that's usually how you get started with story narrative tracking. But
Mhm.
narratives are more important than what people realize. So let's I'm gonna do a few visual aids here and just to kind of bring people back to where this really ramped up into overdrive. So this will be a bit of a throwback for people, I think. Oh, that's on Brave. That's why. Sorry, my fault.
Don't let it happen again.
So I'm sure people have seen this a million times. A lot of people haven't.
What is this all about? Who's this? Oh, The Great Reset by Glenn Beck.
Yeah. So you remember when all that was going on?
I have the book. Yeah, back there.
By Klaus Schwab.
No, The Great Reset by Glenn Beck.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So he picked up on that. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, yeah, and and Glenn Beck's come a long way in this stuff. He's still, I don't know if he'll ever cross the Rubicon, but he made big strides during COVID, I would say, which is good. But
COVID was a big eye opener for a lot of people.
yeah, um, after that, about a year or two later, Schwab came forward, and it was about 2 years after they announced the Great Reset project, and he announced that we need a great narrative reset. They need a new story to tell everybody. Now, he didn't go into any real details of what exactly he meant by that, and it kind of just disappeared after that. After he announced that, um, something that I really wish people would understand is the nature of psychological warfare and exactly what it is and how old it is and how it's utilized. Like most people don't realize that we have full blown divisions in our military devoted to psyops.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And what do you think those guys are up to? Now, I'm not saying it's the military doing all this, but I'm just saying it's a good gauge of if we can know what those guys use in terms of tactics and what tech and weapon systems are available to them and methods, it may give us an idea because the military isn't the only one employing psyops. I mean, psyops is as simple as an influence operation or influencing. It's marketing, it's sales, it's Edward Bernays. You know, it's it's as old. I mean, it's as old as warfare itself. You know, Gideon and his army of 500 that turned into 10. You know, torch and making noises. You know, it's if you can convince the enemy to run and flee and to give up, that's way better than having to slaughter them all. You
That's
lose
all
way
the,
less in the fight, so you get to keep your security forces, and they run, and you get everything you
well,
want.
well, it's like the a whole idea of propaganda. They took a
Yeah,
marketing idea and flipped it to make it they used that marketing idea from the 1920s into mind control, basically. That's what the Nazis did with propaganda. Before this World War II, propaganda wasn't a bad word, I guess you would say. It was just an idea.
I don't
But
know of
yeah.
any government or authority structure or even business owner that hasn't employed these tactics. You may call them motivation seminars,
Yeah.
you know, convince people to give you 120% for less return if you can, you know, learn how to use certain sales techniques, basically just forms of manipulation or and I don't want to like dog all this and make it sound like it's all bad. It isn't. You have to being charismatic and knowing how to influence people to move things forward or to run a business is important because you're dealing with human beings, and human beings aren't, it's not like you're going to sit down and reason with everybody and make everyone as motivated. Like, I understand, like, it's not all bad, but also people don't realize how pernicious it is. Every time you pick up a magazine, you are dosing yourself with to psychological warfare. Every time you turn on Netflix, you are dosing yourself.
Yeah.
Every time you turn on YouTube, every single time you put on any form of outside information influence, you are dosing yourself. So the question is, from where is the information coming, to what end, and for what reasons? Vast majority of people never don't think like that, and they don't try to track that stuff down. I've been trying to track that down for the last 7 years. Um,
And this is what led to the podcast. Just trying to figure that all out.
yeah, it's a great way to record kind of progress, and, as things become more clear or less clear, or I don't know about this or that, it's a good record keeping system. And again, it helps me stay sane and also feel better because it's hard to talk about this with people. So it's a great
Yeah.
outlet.
Well, I mean, we built quite a well, what I think's a good audience off of the whole theory. So that you've come up with, and
Well,
then it's
I'm not the one that came up with this. I'm just able to articulate what many other people are able to articulate as well. Every one of our political geopolitic guests that we've had on would say the exact same thing. Maybe not the exact words, but they understand this. Colonel Towner has a great series I recommend everyone go check out that she's been doing about the Fabians and secret society infiltration into basically the Western intelligence sphere. And she goes into a lot more depth than I've seen. She's the best on Gladio, which is an arm of this. And again, for those that don't know, Gladio is a catch-all term for basically the Western intelligence services planting what we call terror networks around the world to destabilize and control certain nation states. So whenever you hear a word like ISIS, they were Western assets. Any of the guys, like Ian Burlingame says it famously. He said the GWAT, the Global War on Terror, was Tampa versus Langley. It was SOCOM versus Langley. That's all it was.
yeah.
Not was. It was geopolitical stuff in the background, but when it came to gunfights, that's what it was. Which is kind of a mind bender to wrap your head around. Like, why would they do that? And that's where people kind of would go, well, our government wouldn't do that. Well, what if our government isn't necessarily a monolith?
Well, it's like they just came out and admitted the CIA killed Kennedy. Both of them.
That they had involvement. The thing about, and just real quick on the Kennedy thing, it's, if anyone, you go back and look at the assassination of Caesar. Caesar was assassinated by those senators, and everyone had to plunge their knife, or else it was kind of like a blood pact. Like, if we're going to do this, everyone better be a part of it, because if you don't, we're going to come kill you next, because we can't trust you, because we're killing the king. So you better be on board. So when I say everyone was in Dallas that day, everyone was in Dallas that day. KGB was there, mafia groups were there, CIA was all over the place, SOCOM, Tampa, everyone was there, politicians, George H.W. Bush was most likely there. There's a famous interview of he was doing in Japan, and because there was a guy that was working for the CIA named George W. Bush, and this is what they do. They put like a second guy there to make it seem like if he ever got found out that he was in Dallas, then they're like, no, it was this George H.W. Bush that worked for the CIA that was here. It was a limited hangout, but he got asked flat out on a Japanese interview. He's like, do you remember where you were when JFK was assassinated? And his face went white, and he was like, he just had no, he said he didn't remember.
The president?
What George H.W. Bush said that. He's like, I don't remember. So anyway, just fun little
Former
rabbit
director
trail
of the CIA. Yeah. Doesn't remember.
Yep. So that's a problem. And the question, and then that realizing how messed up it is makes people go into what you would call cognitive dissonance, where your thinking ability, where you're starting to track one thing that leads to another, just shuts down. And you can hear certain facts or certain things told to you, and you can like, hey, go look this up, and it just washes over the person's consciousness like they didn't even hear you. I'm sure everyone has experienced that in their life with certain people. You say something to somebody and it's like they didn't hear you, even though they're looking at you and nodding and they're hearing you, but they can't extrapolate the meaning. And that's a big part of how psychological warfare works, is by introducing cognitive dissonance, by overwhelming the senses, just making it so ludicrously difficult to figure out what is actually real, is a great place to put your adversaries as well as your domestic population. And that's kind of where we're at. Enter in the UFO drama. A lot of commentators don't want to touch this because it's been so heavily toxified by, remember the show Ancient Aliens on History Channel, all that stuff. And I mean, there's been a massive, there is a real ufology, I would say, community of like researchers and people that have stayed outside of the milieu of money and productions around making a narrative around the UFO phenomenon. And then there's all the alien hunters, the UFO guys, the people that are the Grushes, the Lou Elizondos, Jeremy Corbell, all these guys you see show up on Joe Rogan. Basically, everyone you see on Joe Rogan concerning UFOs, that's they all work for Chris Mellon, who's a billionaire, who's basically managing this project. And the Mellon family is an old banking family here. They're worth an insane amount of money. And for some reason, he is the financier behind all these guys. And that's admitted, by the way. Flat out admitted. Grush said that himself. So
one guy's paying for all of this stuff?
He's running point. I wouldn't say he's necessarily like, I mean, because honestly, it doesn't cost that much money to run this kind of influence operation. You got to pay you got to basically float the equivalent of a medium-sized corporation in terms of salaries. It's not that hard. But you got to have good actors. Like Lou Elizondo is he's a CIA counterintelligence guy. That was his job. It quite frankly still is, in my opinion. That's what we're seeing here is counterintelligence. A lot of people think like intelligence, like it's James Bond spies going and collecting secrets. And sure, that's a part of it. There's some of that. But then counterintelligence is sowing the wind with false rabbit trails. Like limited hangouts is what you would call it. You give a certain amount of truth or evidence, and then it leads people off onto a distraction.
What do you mean by limited hangout?
That's a technical term of art that intelligence groups use. That's actually what they call it. It's not hanging someone out to dry completely with a false trail. It's limited in that you're giving them a bit of a story to chew on that's got some real leads. And then once they get to the end of it, then they end up either in a positive feedback loop of logic, or it just ends up being a dead end. Ideally, you want to get people in a positive feedback loop where they get into a circular argument with themselves. And that's ideal. But I mean, all these guys coming out in Congress and they're talking about interdimensional beings, and people don't believe me, but it's like when I say this, because no one really goes and looks this up. Okay, here's Miss Luna of all names. Hilariously enough.
I mean, do you hear the same thing with Mr. Krishnamurti?
So this is what I'll say. I'm going to reiterate, we can't talk about specifics and what we got into, but what I can tell you is what Gresh shared with me in an unclassified setting that I firmly believe in. I believe that he's telling the truth. I think that he is a credible witness. And what I can also say is one thing in particular that really caused me to be concerned about this whole thing is that Gresh had stated to myself, Representative Burchett, and another member on the phone that there were people that were hurt hiding this information and keeping this information safe and or trying to come forward with this information. What I can tell you is I believe that claim after now leaving.
How much
and that's all I'll say now.
Do you think that the administration is sending the right people? Do you think that you guys are actually talking to the right people in these classified?
I think that they are sending the correct people on paper. However, there is, and it's become evident that there is an overclassification and that we are continually being stonewalled. My one concern is that we are authorizing money that is supposed to be spent on certain programs, and yet there is compartmentalization in which Congress doesn't have access to oversight in those programs, and that's a problem.
Are you more concerned leaving now than you were going in?
I feel the same. I think that I'm pretty much at the same space that I was. This entire process has been what facts do we have? Again, the credibility of the witnesses is incredibly important, and I think that we have very credible people.
How much of this is the distinction of saying, okay, there are certain programs that we have that are dark programs that we need to be very careful about letting that information out? Some of that can be attributed to what people have said versus this conversation about Rush and some of the claims he made in the open hearing about non-human biologics.
You know, as of right now, we didn't get into the specifics of that in there, but what I will say is that it has become apparent that there is a movement, whether it's within the intelligence community or not, to prevent us from finding out more information on this. And so we are going to do what we need to do as investigators to continue to pull on whatever strings and see where they lead.
So
I
hold
think
on,
it's
pause.
really listen to this.
Hold on. What do you think about the statement so far?
Well, first off, this is a congresswoman talking, so we got fair use, no problem here. But
Well, I understand.
I mean, she's kind of getting to the punchline here.
Okay.
I don't know.
So
You? I mean, first off, I don't know, because I've been tracking this ever since this started, so this is nothing new to me. What stood out to you? I mean, they're talking about non-human biologics, and they're talking to witnesses, and they're talking to the press about it openly. And by the way, this lady, Luna, what's her name? Congressman something Luna, I forgot. Anyway, so she's former Air Force. She has a sketchy background a little bit. She kind of shows up out of nowhere and is a congresswoman. Very attractive, obviously, very put together. And she's running all the disclosure operations when it comes to JFK, MK Ultra, and the UFO file, along with Tim Burchett, the OG shucks gee whiz guy from, I don't think it's Kentucky. I forgot exactly where he's from. But the point is, it's like, and the press doesn't touch her. Like, you know, they don't come after her at all. Like a 10-foot ball. Have you heard her name before?
I think so.
Anna
Yeah.
Paulina Luna. That's her name.
Okay. Senator Luna.
Congresswoman. Yeah.
I haven't heard of her.
She's in the
No.
House.
Yeah.
Representative Luna.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean is like, this is like, unless people are watching this, they don't know what they're hearing. It's like, okay, you're, let's play a game. You're a 65-year-old Vietnam War vet. They're probably older than that. They're probably in their 75, 80.
70s.
Yeah.
Late 70s.
And you hear something like this. What do you make of it?
Well, I don't know, because
I don't either.
I've thought there's aliens my whole life. You know.
I don't think there's, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's a hard question. The point is that you don't know what to say to these things, and that can elicit cognitive dissonance. And for people that are fanboys of the UFO file and that's all they track, they see something like this and they're like, yes, the government's about to like disclose. We're finally going to get the truth. And then
Mhm.
the people that have been watching this long enough and then understand how geopolitics work, that understand espionage, that understand history to some degree, that understand the legal system to some degree, that have a bit more of a well-rounded view of this whole thing, watch this and go, this is a limited hangout. They're not, this is completely ridiculous. And it's honestly offensive to me how blatant it is. And they've been just stringing people along with this thing for years now.
Well, it's like was it? It was in 1948, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, when the Roswell right over here, or not too far. Actually, it was in Corona, but um, yeah, the whole thing happened out at that ranch. And first they said it happened. What?
Yeah, the Foster Ranch.
Yeah, at the Foster Ranch, which we went through it. We had an episode all on that.
Yep.
But you go out to the Foster Ranch, they have, I've seen there's a scar in the ground, lines up with everything they say, and there's a big, like a mile or so down the road, there's a big crash site. So
Right. But so
yeah,
to
and
get, go ahead.
but when you talk to the Air Force first came out and said, this is what we found, they were really transparent. And then they spent the next 80 years saying, we don't know what you're talking about. And now they're like, it's like they got this big thing going on. I can't help but think that it's, you got this, well, it's like that line, my favorite line out of Charlie Wilson's War. If you have sex and intrigue on one hand, you could park a carrier group on the other and no one will see it.
Yes.
Yeah, there's not sex and intrigue, but it's misdirection. And that's where my mind goes is, are they doing this for misdirection? And are they just overwhelming the population so much that everyone can't see, what's going on? And even though
Yeah.
I'm a Trump fanboy, I guess they would say, I don't put anything past him because he's still head of the government. The government, I don't trust.
Yeah. No, you can't. And I would also encourage everyone or people that when you think of the word trust, do you trust yourself? The answer should be probably no. So therefore we don't trust anybody by just default. Just we don't trust anyone. It doesn't mean we don't trust certain people with certain things that we know they're capable of doing, just like you would if with any other employees. Like I don't trust, John to go do the roof, but he's good at plumbing. He can go do that.
Mm-hmm.
Still need to keep an
Okay.
eye on things, but you compartmentalize your trust. You don't just do broad sweep trust with anybody. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And no one actually does that. So, but I think it's important to stop saying, oh, do I trust this person? Say, here's what I trust the government to do. I trust them to collect taxes and kill anybody in their way.
I don't even trust them to do that appropriately.
No, I trust that they will collect taxes and kill anyone in their way.
Yeah.
Not that they should or do it well, even. That's
I'm just saying that.
But like, that's just an example of like a few, like I would trust them with that fact basis, but I wouldn't with like the state of reality. Like, I'm not the nature of reality. I'm not going to trust them with that. Are you kidding me? But, okay, here, we're getting to the punchline with this real fast. It's almost over.
All right.
Specific words that Gresh uses. Gresh never said extraterrestrial or alien. He said interdimensional. I think that that's incredibly important because those are the types of things that when we go in there, there's just certain things that I think that it's important that you guys listen to on that.
On government funding, quickly, I know you voted yesterday. You still voted against.
This is UAP today. So thank you guys.
Can I get clarification?
Yes,
You said interdimensional. I mean, now, what does that term? Is this something that bends time and space? What are you getting at?
I think that Grush, when I had talked to him on whether these were specifically extraterrestrials or alien in origin, he said interdimensional. He refused to use certain terms. And I think that's incredibly important because I think that that's really the question we're all wanting to know, right? And so I'm actually going to have a sit-down conversation with him and ask him to come back and talk to us directly, because it seems that we are getting more information from the source than going into a skiff and then not being able to tell you guys what we're talking
Is this
about.
stuff that we just as humans might not be able to understand if it's interdimensional?
I think that we can understand it. I think that it's just, it's an approach, right? I mean, like, remember, we just now for the first time in history really had Congress have whistleblowers come forward credible that we're telling the entire world that there is something other than human life forms. Grush said that those were interdimensional beings. He refused to use extraterrestrial and alien. I think that's important to note, but I do have to go feed my baby, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
Feed my baby.
No, she's a very good mother. She probably is, but still, it's
No, I'm just
But you
saying
notice how the
convenient.
Democrats, like, you don't hear about her because there's no drama with her and Democrat, even though she throws bombs at them all the time. They don't touch her. I mean,
Hmm.
her name Luna. I'm like, okay, this is just kind of like weird that you're in charge. Like, she's like 30 and she's in charge of the UFO disclosure in Congress,
Hmm.
but she
She has to be
runs the
older than that.
subcommittee on it.
She has to be older than that.
She's in her 30s.
Oh yeah. I think she has to be what, 35 at least.
I mean, she's probably closer to 40 by now, but still, it's like, I mean, still, that's besides the point. Even if she was 40, it's like you're talking about the most sensitive subject theoretically that the U.S. government would be sitting on would be this. Because let's just think of what this does. If you are now going to be able to prove that there's, in her words, interdimensional beings that interface with us, how does that enter into the consciousness of the entire planet? Let's stick with Christian evangelicals because that's, and again, let me clarify, evangelicals is a political term. It's not a technical term. It's a catch-all for basically all Christian groups outside of the Catholic or traditional Orthodox churches, or the high churches, I would say. It's kind of the, but it was started during Reagan as a political term. But point is, how would you, so let's say the government proves without a shadow of a doubt
Oh
the
shit. Well, I
majority
mean,
of the
look at that. It'd be
What?
25.
What?
You must be 25 years old to run for this Congress.
Oh yeah, no, you can be a baby. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think the Senate's like
You have to be 30.
30. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Huh.
Um,
Oh,
I mean,
here's this thing though. You must have lived in the state you are. So you have
representing.
to, the house, you have to at least 7 years and live in this. You have to be a U.S. citizen for 7 years and
So
be in the United States, and you have to be a citizen for 9 years to run for Senate. I think
so
they're talking about outlawing that.
so are you tracking what I'm trying to drive at here?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She's a good figurehead. I mean,
So why would they be doing this?
it either is there really is aliens, which I'm not saying there isn't. I do believe in aliens, but it almost feels like a wag the dog situation.
I I I I don't think, I have not seen any evidence for biological aliens, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Um
But you
are
understand wag the dog, right?
Yes, and no, yeah. It's
Is it
Werner
the
von Braun said something about this. All right,
it
to
implies that the tail, the body, people wag the tail, which is the government, but
yeah.
it's the government which is the tail wagging the dog. You know, they also made a
Yeah.
movie about it, but
Here's so Werner von Braun, the guy who was the first director of NASA, former Nazi, former in quotes, ran a V2 rocket facility, manufacturing facility in Germany, or I think it was in Germany. It might have been somewhere else, but
Germany and Poland and France. Yeah.
his mistress came forward with the story regarding basically, hang on, let me just show you in her words. It's real fast.
Mhm.
And the next enemy was asteroids. Now, at this point, he kind of chuckled the first time he said it. Asteroids, against asteroids, we're going to build space-based weapons. So it was funny then. And the funniest one of all was against what he called aliens, extraterrestrials. That would be the final card. And over and over and over during the 4 years that I knew him and was giving his speeches for him, he would bring up that last card. And remember, Carol, the last card is the alien card. We're going to have to build space-based weapons against aliens. And all of it, he said, is a lie. A lie. I think I was too naive to know at that time the seriousness of the nature of the spin that was being put on the system. And now the pieces are starting to fall into place.
Okay. So let's go back to when the space race started. Really, it was, I got to brush up on, I mean, obviously Kennedy is when it really kicked off into overdrive. And it's a part of where I was going at with that Kennedy series that I was starting, for just that first part that we put in. Maybe we put that in the show notes for review, of the connection of aerospace and the Kennedy assassination, who I credit dark journalists and Joseph Farrell, Daniel List. Those guys have done the best work on that I've seen. If anyone has any suggestions of anyone else out there that has done work on this, then let me know. I can't find anyone else, but they've done great work on it. There was a speech that Kennedy was going to give at the, it was a convention center in Dallas. I forgot the name of it off the top of my head. But basically, the speech was going to be of great geopolitical, national, international importance. His friend, who I forgot his name too, I got to go back and review all this. I was not in the mindset for this, so sorry. He basically, it got disclosed later that it was going to be an announcement that of a joint moon mission with the Russians. And for whatever reason, it's Daniel List or dark journalist's opinion that that's the primary reason that he had to be killed, because he was about to disclose some of the greatest secrets in regards to aerospace and our and basically space to the Russians in order to make that happen. Because and you remember that story I told you about Khrushchev and Reagan?
Mm-hmm.
About how Reagan called, like Khrushchev said in front of at a Charlie Rose interview with Kissinger sitting right there. Oh yeah, Reagan would call me and ask me like, hey, if aliens ever invaded, would you be on our side? And we said, absolutely, we'd help you. And he was like dead serious about it. And he just threw that bomb out there and he's like, I don't know what to make of it. And everyone in the room's just like, okay, moving on. Chairman Khrushchev. So the point is, this whole thing with UFOs is it's a great glimpse into PsyOps. Now, this will get people upset because there's people that really believe in aliens. Now, I will say that it is my opinion that they are moving toward the interdimensional being thing, because one, that can pass the sniff test in regards to physics. according to the current model of physics that we all operate under, there is no feasible way to get a manned craft anywhere near the distances that are required. It's not a matter of energy it doesn't matter how much energy you have. It's not that, it's beyond that. You have to be able to fold time and space and basically create portals. Now, there's one thing in the universe that travels faster than light that we know of, and that's information. Because information doesn't necessarily travel along a medium, although it uses mediums of exchange. So if you have what you would call an interdimensional being, it kind of fits in nicely with the Christian mythology of angels and demons. You got some people that are being possessed by negative ones, and then you got the light brotherhood or the angels possessing other people. It could fit within the Christian cosmology if they roll this out. But if they actually are the ones to officiate that we've made contact with some hierarchy or group of people or beings, and they want to talk to us, well, then we're going to have to go through the government to figure out what they're talking to us about. Now, in that last clip with Von Braun, he described, and she went into more depth before, but basically he would describe that it would start with a threat escalation ladder of threats coming into the planet. First being the Cold War would require mass surveillance for nuclear weapons, satellite systems. The next one would be, how do you introduce space-based weapon systems, asteroids, defense platforms to shoot down asteroids? Because, back then, especially if you announced that we're going to start putting a bunch of missile pods or nuclear bombs up in space to drop on the planet at a moment's notice, people would probably be a little bit annoyed with that. Well, do you have any thoughts so far?
No, they're on the good roll to me.
So the final card, as she said, and it is the final card, is an external threat to all of humanity that has malicious intent, aka aliens, that require an organization of the planet to get everyone geared up in a warfighting mode for things out there. Here's the beautiful part about that. We would never even see if these battles or intergalactic, like Star Wars shit, was going on. We wouldn't even know. We'd just be watching movie clips generated by AI at home, watching the news going, oh my God, they finally, they really laid into them today. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but back in the 50s and 60s when they were dreaming all this, really, this has been older than that, but they probably had a long-term vision, but they didn't really account for the tenor of the culture today. I don't think people are going to buy that. I think people would watch it like professional wrestling.
I think that's what they're doing now too. It's just like, oh, really?
Exactly.
Another thing. Cool.
That's what they're doing now. 100%.
Well, that's what it's like. I hate to say it like this, they keep dropping all this stuff, and I'm just like, okay, what's next? It doesn't even faze me.
That's called cognitive dissonance, though, because you don't have a place to sort or organize anything that they're telling us. That's the whole strategy. They've done that to everybody. I have it too. I'm not saying I'm above it. I'm not. I'm like, everyone has this, but it's something to point out and just to kind of get focused on a little bit.
Yeah, but it's like they could come out and say Bigfoot is talking and walking down the middle of the street. I'm like, okay, sure. Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's costing cognitive dissonance. Yeah. Just no one gives a shit.
I got one more thing to play. This is from a news channel. It won't be a problem, but this ties into what we're talking about. This is Steve Bannon and John Solomon. John Solomon's a spook. Bannon's obviously, like, when I say a spook, I just mean basically they're made guys of some faction and they're tied into intelligence. And I'm not exactly sure which faction it is, to be honest with you.
Ricketts is going to join us. Actually, I think we've got Cleta, Wade Miller, Cortez. We got a lot. some of the smartest, toughest, most loyal, sir.
That email is sent exactly when this intercept is captured.
And in the MAGA movement and the Republic overall. So I don't understand why we're not doubling and tripling down on everything with total transparency and, more importantly, with urgency. John Solomon.
I think the president has unleashed a new mechanism to speed transparency that will probably take effect next week, and it will allow the White House to move more quickly and not have to rely on deep state bureaucrats and agencies to do things. And I think that the president has that urgency. His chief of staff, Susie Wiles, has that urgency. And I think they've created a novel solution to speed this up. You mentioned one thing, CIA, Ukraine, absolutely. And let's just remind everybody that USAID has long been a cover agency for some CIA operations. It's well known. It's an open secret. It's not a doubt.
Amen.
But we may be sitting over something that has some intelligence community connections, and I think that may be the sensitivity here. But this can be fixed, and I think when people get to the bottom of it, we'll find out. Did it happen? Did it not happen? But there are emails that suggest it was in motion, and we should get those out to the American public.
All right. I'm sorry, that wasn't it. It's
Scenario like this, but they're more bifurcated by the fact that we've leveled basically their entire communications infrastructure. So the president's willing to test that theory and see if it's real. But I think the most important thing that people are missing in the mainstream media is that Iran has been told unequivocally that the president has some very, very clear red lines. There are three things either no chance he will not accept. Iran is clearly aware of those three lines, and they have now agreed to an outline of the 60-day ceasefire. That comes with enormous consequences for the Iranian government. If they try to change those red lines later, they're just going to get blown to smithereens. I think they know that. So, yeah, the communications internally are just different.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Just give us those red lines once again. Just give us the three red lines. His red lines.
No nuclear weapons program ever again. Turn over the uranium, and a free and open Strait of Hormuz. Those are the three red lines. And Trump has signaled, hey, listen, we're not saying we have to control the Strait of Hormuz. You just have to keep it free and open. It's in your territory, fine. But you got to keep it free and open. No weaponizing it. So those are the red lines. And there is absolute clarity on that. And the fact that the Iranians know that and are agreeing to this deal is significant. Now, they are not trustworthy. We know that. We have 47, now almost 48 years of proof that they're not trustworthy. But they are beaten down. They are flattened. They got nothing to fight with. They put up 4 drones. We blow the hell out of them in 5 seconds. They don't have a way to beat us. They don't. All that rhetoric you heard on.
By the way, 5 seconds, that's faster than a missile. So just keep that in the back of your mind in terms of an intercept.
Pretty
I'm not
fast, man.
saying he may be over embellishing. He may be, put a little color on this, but let's see.
Television is BS. They got a few missiles here and there. They can be a menace. They cannot be a significant power anymore. They know that. The Persians are very pragmatic people, all of their rhetoric aside. And I think that the president believes that the expressions that are at the table with Jarrett and with Steve Witkoff are worth testing, but short and quick and intense. And if they get to the next level, things will be great. If not, he has no problem opening up the skies. And I think this time the president will likely use some shock and awe. I would not be surprised if some new weaponry like space-based lasers were used to show Iran, hey, you think conventional warfare stuff? Check this out. That would be supersonic transformation of warfare overnight. So Iran knows that what comes next is going to be worse than what it's been through. And I think that is given, put them in a position to try to negotiate. There are a lot of thorny issues. It's a deal to get to a deal to get to a deal.
All right. That was the main point.
Vernon von Braun.
Werner.
Yeah.
Werner.
No, Wernher.
Oh yeah, you're right. Werner. Yeah.
Was never director of the NASA.
What was he?
Let's see. Hold that up. He was the head rocket engineer.
Okay, my mistake. Thank you.
His
He was one of the top guys, though. He was.
he
I mean,
was he served as director of the newly formed Marshall Flight Space Center, where they
okay.
developed the Saturn V rocket.
Yeah, which was the premier
Yeah.
like project at the time. So that was like
And
all. Yeah.
so that's where a lot of people mix that up. So it's not
Okay. I mixed that up. Okay. Well, that's an important detail. So I'll remember that.
yeah. And before that, he worked for the United States Army Ordnance Corps.
Yeah. I mean, his bailiwick back in Germany was V2 rockets.
Yeah.
Like, that was his whole thing. So, people can need to look into Operation Paperclip. There's several
Great
other
book.
operations. Yeah, and Annie Jacobson did a good job on that. She's a spook and running limited hangouts all over the place on behalf of the CIA and intelligence services. However, there's good details in there. It's worth a read. So you can't be a purist with these things. It's too complicated. You got to read everybody. You got to pay attention because there's details that come out that are important. Anyway, so we got space. So John Solomon is not some off the cuff reporter. He is somebody that has a direct line of communication to a lot of senators. He gets access to a lot of breaking stories, meaning he's the main outlet that a lot of senators, mostly senators I've noticed, and congressmen use to push out certain things, and the intelligence services use him as well. But he works for RAV. He's Real America's Voice. So he's like right-wing conservative, but he is very professional. He's not somebody that when he says something, he's extremely accurate in what he says. I've never caught him in a lie. He's very, very careful in what he says. Now, he doesn't say too much a lot of the time, but when he says something, it's worth taking note. Like, it's like, okay. So space-based weapon systems. Okay. So this goes back to Wernher von Braun. Now, so how do you get the entire world to sign off on one nation state having access and control of said weapon system? That's the ultimate high ground. That basically means the United States controls the planet. Effectively. Not totally, but if we have dominance in space, which pretty sure we do, there's a lot of stories about the Indians and the Chinese and doing all this. I just don't like, because look, we have the longest running space program next to the Soviets. And the Russian space program never ended either. So we're still kind of neck and neck. I mean, people forget we used to send our astronauts up on Russian rockets once upon a time.
Yeah, because we kind of ended our shuttle program without having an alternative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
yep.
that was
Kennedy's shuttle program. Yep. Wernher von Braun reportedly broke into teared up, or he got really angry or upset when he saw the design for the shuttle program. He's like, because Wernher von Braun's idea for rocketry was self-landing rockets.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know a guy that's doing something like that.
Oh yeah.
He also wrote a book about the future colonization of Mars. Wernher von Braun.
Yeah, we know a guy is trying to do that same thing.
Yeah. Let me look this up. He quoted something. It's called the Mars Project, published in 1953, and later as Project Mars, A Technical Tale in 2006. Von Braun imagines a Martian society governed by a Mars Council headed by one named Elon. Elon was asked about this, and he's like, I've never heard of this. This is crazy.
Say that part again?
Elon was asked about this.
No, before that.
That there would be a Mars Council headed by one named Elon. You can look the quote up yourself. Project Mars, Werner von Braun, Elon.
Okay.
So there's several theories around this of how this people that understand all these facts that I've laid out, and the ongoing theory is basically this is a blueprint to create a globalized, militaristically based system of control. And how many comm satellites has Elon thrown up? Elon, by the way, Elon is code for the United States government or whatever entity controls it. Elon is not a real boy.
Well, in this context, I mean,
he might be flesh and blood, but I'm saying that he's not like this sole genius that figured all this out. They've been working on this stuff for decades.
yeah.
And what they classically do when they have military deep projects like the Intergalactic Communication Network, aka the Internet, they roll it out to a couple corporations for public release, and they give the IPOs to certain corporations. It's basically a pseudo dark. It's basically a fascist system we've been engaged in since World War II, at least, and really it goes back to the robber barons and the Industrial Revolution. It's too much money
which leads
and power.
you back to the Dutch.
Yeah, no, it's not
Sorry.
like it's kind of why I roll my eyes when people talk about fascism. I'm like, name one government that isn't fascist, like just that, because like one government that hasn't partnered with a corporate entity. One, like it doesn't. It's just not. It doesn't exist. So every government is a fascist government. Some may be more so than others, but fascism doesn't mean like all the negative connotations that we have with it. It's a technical term to describe the relationship between corporate enterprise and corporate private enterprises and government, where they end up becoming one and the same, and they de facto become one and the same just because of the nature of secrecy and national security. You don't
the
get
leaders
access
of Elon, which is Earth. Yeah. And the government. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know exactly what's going on here, but we're being messed with at a cosmic level, like is the polite way of putting it. Now, there are some legitimate things in regards to our cosmology that I do think require us that we're going to have to start opening our minds up to a little bit.
Oh, dude. Here, I'll put this up real quick. Let's see. Look at that.
Yeah.
You want to read it aloud?
The Elon. Interest in this novel increased in 2021 when people connected the Martian leader called the Elon to SpaceX founder Elon Musk, suggesting that von Braun may have somehow foreseen Musk's space exploration adventures. However, Errol Musk, Elon's father, asserted in 2022 that he was fully aware of the von Braun connection in naming to his son. Chapter 24 of the novel of how Mars is governed states, the Martian government was directed by 10 men, the leader of whom was elected by universal suffrage for 5 years and entitled Elon. 2 houses of parliament enacted the laws to be administered by the Elon and his cabinet.
There you go.
So, yeah. So there's so much more around the UFO, like, unless you're looking at it and researching it, this stuff is all over the place in terms of manipulation. There's something else going on here. It's not just like, oh, the government's going to tell us about how the world works all of a sudden. I mean, it's just not going to happen. There's no interest for that to happen. So the only way that I would believe, like, if I was extraterrestrials or interdimensional beings, you would want to come and make contact with certain people on the planet that aren't in this deceptive Ahrimanic mind virus. But you can't, but the thing about Ahriman is he networks across very quickly because he talks to base human beings that don't have free will, free thinking, free willing, free feeling, that are just robots that ingest, go, follow incentive structures. It's hang on a second here. So the last part about this that I think might be a good place to, we don't have to sign off here, but we could if you want to, is that movie trailer.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put that movie. They just put out a final movie trailer for the Age of Disclosure, new Spielberg movie. Everyone's going to probably go see this. It's probably going to be the most watched movie of the summer.
I can see them. I am much more inclined now than I was when I made Close Encounters to really believe that we're not the only intelligent civilization in the universe.
What did you steal?
Secrets. People have a right to know the truth. This is a story.
By the way, whistleblower keynote right there, because they've been pushing whistleblowers in front of our whistleblowers, quote unquote, in front of Congress for the last 3 years with barely any news coverage, and people, but except for the nerds that watch this stuff, and they're like, oh, these are the brave whistleblowers that all work for the government, by the way, and they're all, a bunch of them are CIA intelligence spooks, and a lot of them work for Chris Mellon, DOD contractor, part of the Mellon banking cartel. It's like nothing to see here, folks. Moving on.
About us. All of us.
Good morning, Kansas City.
Up against the most extraordinary event in human history.
What's happening to me? I'm frightened. I'm frightened out of my wits.
You don't need to be. You have someone else.
Daniel Keller.
Who is this?
Do not go back to the house. They found you. I don't know who you are, but they're gonna kill you.
The human race cannot accept what we know. We need to stop it any way we can.
What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? This 79-year cover-up of the truth.
Crazy.
Has to end.
We're interrupting our coverage.
How will disclosure change us? I believe for the better. It will remind us of our capacity for empathy, and that there is something bigger out there than just ourselves. The only way to know your purpose is to go back to where it all began. I know you.
I know you too. What happened to us?
I used to say to myself, wouldn't it be wonderful if all of this turned out to be true? I'm now thinking, wouldn't it be wonderful for people to know they're coming? All of this is true.
Cool.
So they're rolling with it.
Yeah,
And
cool, man.
I don't know exactly what humans are going to do when they start, like, because I don't know what else they're going to show. Because if they go with this, they're going to have to show some real special effects. And there's been all these orbs sighting around the country. It's been picking up in recent years.
Okay.
Have you not seen these?
No.
Okay. I mean, I don't know. It's not showing up now. Anyway, if you go on X, they're all over the place. I know some of the people that have posted these. Let's see if I can find it. It's a common phenomenon of there's here, let me show you. This is something else. Yeah, here's a good one.
A rare and mysterious thunderstorm phenomenon occurred in Rich Valley, Alberta last week, and it was captured on camera by Global News watchers Ed and Melinda Party. This glowing blue ball of light is called ball lightning, and it appeared behind their home just moments after a very intense lightning strike occurred. It lasted for about 23 seconds before they heard a pop sound, and then the light quickly disappeared. Now, although ball lightning is very rare, there actually have been over 10,000 reports of these from around the world, dating all the way back to the 12th century. Reports from pilots, sailors, scientists, and everyday people. But only a handful of them have actually been documented in a video this well. Ball lightning can range from size from grapefruit to basketball, sometimes even meters wide, and the light can vary from red to blue to orange or yellow. They are typically found sort of just above the ground, and they sort of float or hover right above where the lightning strike actually occurred. However, there have been reports of these balls actually moving, and sometimes even moving through windows and moving indoors. Ball lightning is not an optical phenomenon. It is a real thing, and it's caused by intense thunderstorms, but scientists are still trying to figure out the exact cause. Now, there are several theories, and one of the most widely accepted theories is that the lightning strike actually vaporizes silicone in the ground, which is found in some soils. And then the silicone reacts with oxygen in the air, creating a glowing plasma ball just above the ground. There's another theory that suggests that the lightning ionizes particles in the air, like gases or water vapor, and then it creates this clump of ionized plasma, which glows and sort of hovers just above the ground. Now, although ball lightning has been partially replicated in laboratories, none of these recreations have actually matched all the properties that have been described by observers.
Yeah. So no, that's all nonsense. So all those theories. One, you can't create it in a stasis form like that if it was just a chemical reaction. If that's all that was happening, there's a containment field. There's something going on there to hold it all together. What's holding it all together?
Well, that looked like a scene right out of a movie, I'm telling you, man.
I know, but these things have been talked about.
Yeah.
I mean, there's records of this stuff, and there's so much footage of this. A lot of it is fake. You got to get through the fake stuff. That's one of the best ones that's legit that I've seen. So look, I do, based on my work with Steiner and my study into occult work, and I've talked with several people that are engaged, that work in some of these groups, and it's not that they're little green men from another planet. It's more of there's higher orders of conscious beings interoperating within our reality. Basically a part of the angelic hierarchy. Now, they're not necessarily angels per se, but that there's different realms of beings moving on up. I'm not saying that's true or 100% true, but if all of this is coming out and there is some real phenomenon, like what I would do if I was the government, I would try to convince everybody, one, that I was talking to these things, and two, that if that
Yeah,
didn't work,
exactly.
are they a threat? And then if they're a threat, well, then we got to build the defense grid around the planet. Well, who's going to defend us? Well, the arsenal of democracy, that's a potential outcome of all this. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I have a feeling it's not going to, but that's Donald Trump's Golden Globe defense initiative. Like, it's
Golden Dome.
Golden Dome. Thank you. But it'll be a Golden Globe because it'll be space-based defense systems to create a security guarantee down here on terra firma. And then asteroids may become a thing, and then ultimately the aliens. It almost feels like, to me, this is not coming out as in the timeline that it was supposed to in its original planning phase. This feels way too sped up. Like, because what's the point of all this propaganda if no one can even coherently understand what's being said? But maybe that's the point, because they understand the population aren't thinking at this point. People are just absorbing, and stuff sits in the subconscious, and they just move on throughout their day. And then when they eventually are told something's real, then they'll just be like, oh yeah, I remember hearing something about that. Like, I was talking to someone very close to me who's a strong conservative right-wing guy, and he's like, oh, Ken Paxton's he's a really bad guy, and he's like somebody who should know better. And I'm like, no, he's not. I mean, relative to who? I mean, I'm sure he's done some sketchy stuff, but he was saying like, oh, he's corrupt and he's involved in this other stuff, and I'm like,
what?
No, like that's not what's been going on at all. Like, I've looked into him deeply. I can't find anything. There's a bunch of stories about him having an affair with his wife, which probably happened again with someone else besides his wife. That probably may have happened, but it's like, okay. And then there's like, he got impeached because he hired a contractor that he had a previous contract with to redo his kitchen that was like a political attaché to him, and that was like deemed as corruption, and that was the second impeachment in Texas history that ever took place. And it failed, but they were pushing for it hard, Karl Rove and those guys. So, I mean, I've only seen this guy come after. Anyway, the point is, I'm not even sure if I'm coming through to you, Cody, on this one. Are you tracking with where I'm at with this? It's a lot.
I think I am, but I've been looking things up
for
too.
years.
So
it's I'm dumping all this on you, so it's not fair. So I'm not criticizing. It's hard to explain. Like, is my point.
hey, I got a video for you. Check this. I found. Check this out. This is nuts.
Yeah, no, I've seen this one. Now, I'm not sure that one's real.
Hey, I asked Grok.
It said it's real? Okay.
It said it was real.
Yeah, that doesn't look real to me. I've never seen, but it's possible. Anyway, it's stuff like that. They tend to float. They don't tend to float quite like that. They tend to move a little bit more erratically. And I've never seen one get lit up by a light. Yeah, that just doesn't look legit to me. But it's okay. Even if it is, there's plenty of this stuff out there that I believe it does happen. It's been talked about. It's been written about for literally almost 1,000 years. People have seen this stuff. Saint Augustine had one float into his window.
Yeah, that one. They said that was fake. My bad. I put the wrong one up. Here's another one.
Yeah, that one's fake. There's so much fake. Yeah, that's fake too. They don't pulse like. Yeah, no, that's not real. I've seen enough of the real ones that I can tell which ones are real and which ones are fake. But Yeah, same one. See, it's a different version. It's doing something different.
Yeah. So,
and you know, I've talked to people that have been witness to these things, that have seen them, but it's
well,
a
dude,
rare occurrence. But so basically, here's you know about dark matter? You've heard that phrase turned around. Well,
oh,
or
I've heard
thrown around.
about it a couple times here. Yeah.
Yeah. So dark matter it's not dark matter. It doesn't exist. Really, what the universe is made of is what we would call a plasma. And plasma is about 90-ish%. It's the majority of the known universe. And that's really what dark matter is. Now, you can't see it technically with certain infrared or even, electromagnetic spectrum lights, but they can see gaps and they can tell that something's there. For example, back in the 90s, I think there were these two, they're called the Kordylewski clouds. There's a Polish scientist named Kordylewski, might have been the 70s. I can't remember. It was a while ago. But he basically theorized that there would be there's these two clouds between the Earth and the moon, and both are like 10 times the size of the Earth. So like together, it's like they're 19 or 18 times the size of the Earth. And they're not, and these physicists finally proved that they're there. Now, I haven't gone through the proofs to understand exactly how they did this and proved it, but it was peer reviewed and it was accepted into the common orthodoxy. So I'm like, okay. So there's these two giant plasmoidal clouds outside of our planet between us and the moon. And these things have so many nodes of electrostatic interface interaction going on between them. It's almost like they're giant hive minds out there. Almost like they're intelligent. Now, that may sound crazy to people, but I would recommend, but don't take my word for it, start getting into plasma life hypothesis and go and look into the electric universe theory. The electric universe guys, I don't fully agree with everything they're doing, or not doing, but their conclusions, but I think they leave themselves open enough to not being totally dead on to certain conclusions, but they are entertaining the idea of the interconnected nature of the universe through what we call electricity, but really is through plasmoidal positive and negative energy ducts. Do you remember that image I showed you a long time ago? I said, remember this image?
No.
You'll remember as soon as I show you.
Okay, sorry, my hair's all messed up. But hey, I got a video to show you real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
I shot myself. I know it's real. Here, check this out. Yeah, that's some crazy storm, huh?
Yeah. And lightning is plasma, by the way. It's hot plasma showing up for a brief moment in a continuity duct.
I didn't do it right.
It's all right.
I forgot.
All right. Here's that image.
Here. Forgot to do this. Oh. Go ahead. Oh, yes. I remember the brain cells and the galactic. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got nodes and these streams of plasma that interface between the different galactic clusters.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mind. It's basically, it's almost as if it's God manifesting in this world. Because what creates this order? What creates the structure? What is holding it all together? What are the gaps? Why the space? Is there nothing really there, or is there something else there that we can't see? And this is just a layer. And it's like a layered system upon layered systems. So I'm at the point now where ancient Christianity, when I say ancient, I mean old Christianity, older traditions, cross religions, they all try to say, well, they were all talking about aliens. I don't really get that. I get that they were talking about this, a unification law of one scenario. That the entire universe is electromagnetically, what we call electromagnetism, is interconnected.
Oh, the more I look into the thing that got me is when you talked about the frequency of the heart and they found the frequency of the sun and the frequency of the galaxy all align.
Yeah. That's, yeah, coincidence. Yeah, no, it's right there. And I mean, and I think, and as the years go on, there's more and more people that have been looking at this that are coming forward publicly. This is the real disclosure to me, but this is not going to be what's reported on. Because if the population of humanity, they realize that this is what's going on, it doesn't destroy religions. It actually validates pretty much most of them if you take their true meaning. If you take what you would call wisdom, like Christians don't like this, but there's a lot of wisdom in Hindu writings. A lot. And the reason for it is, well, one, it's a hell of a lot older than our Bible. And I never understood why people are afraid of, well, I understand why, because, you know, you look at the blue, like Shiva and the.
Quantitatively and qualitatively.
Damn it. Sorry.
No, you're
Rock.
fine. You know, those Hindu idols, and it's all gross, and you see all the stuff, you know, it's like, yeah, I don't want any part of that. It's like, yeah, I don't want either. That's not the point. The point is like, there's certain stories in the Gitas and the Vedas that they're all pointing to this. And if you listen to Jesus Christ talk himself, in many ways, he's kind of saying the same thing in terms of a law of one unification scenario. He's acting as if he's a vessel or representative of the law of one.
Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it. I never thought of that.
Like, not that believe that I'm God. And this is very controversial, and Christians have a hard time with this because once you've said something is God, it's really hard to say it isn't. It's not that Jesus wasn't God. It's that he was a representative. And God the Son and the triumvirate of the Godhead, you got to go back to Augustine to discern how the Catholic Church came up with that. And I'm not against the Trinity, but people that hammer the Bible and say, no, the Trinity is right here in the Bible. I'm like, fine, but it's never labeled as all together. So I'm saying that there is going to be I hate predictions and I hate the word prediction, but I don't know another word right now. I would predict that the churches are going to gravitate and split. And when I say churches, I mean all religions. And most of them won't survive because the current structure of churches and organized religion are not conducive to a law of one system. They're conducive to a more worldly system. Most of them are going to fall apart and fail. And the things that will resuscitate or come out of it, I mean, the new churches that are coming about, they're all like the ones on the right wing, there's like right wing churches and left wing churches.
That's a new idea to me, but yeah, when I discovered that's nuts.
The right wing, left wing church?
I would never.
I didn't think it would happen this quickly, and I was kind of all for it in the beginning, but now I'm watching it and it's like, okay, this is ugly. This is not going to go well. Because the church does not know how to deal with things like this. Everyone has to deal with this on an individual level. You can't go to some authority structure. You have to make sense of this for yourself. you cannot go to a pastor and expect them to give you a clear answer on this one at all. This is so cutting edge to the consciousness of man right now that, I mean, this has been in the background since the 50s and 60s and 70s. Like, people have been writing books about this for a long time, but it's only now with the internet that things are starting to like bleed out. And now with COVID, a lot of people's minds have opened up to go, okay, I need to step outside of my compartmentalization box and figure out what the hell happened to us so we don't do this again. That's me. That's what I did. So, but
Oh, I agree with you. Yeah, exactly. You know, it was the Great Awakening, it seems like. At least you hope.
no, it 100% was. And it's a part of what Steiner would call an evolutionary progress that humans are going to go through organically. And evil is a part of the pressure that creates the transcendence to be possible. Remember I talked to you about the Sabbatean Frankist cult? Have I ever mentioned them? They are a
Sounds
group.
familiar.
Yeah, they're it's a long history. I won't get into it. It's worthy of a show in and of itself. And I need to do way more research on them. There's plenty of good videos out there about them though. But they started from basically a group of Jews that fell under this guy that his name was Sabbatai Zebi. He was in Turkey at the time. He started a kind of a group of a sect of Judaism, and he was self-proclaimed as the new Messiah that came to bring the truth to the Jewish people. He was quickly ordained as not ordained, but like labeled as a heretic by many other rabbis. Like, he was like, this guy is dangerous, don't listen to him. So it wasn't like all Jews fell under this at the time, but this was back in the 1600s. He was basically forced to convert to Islam by the Sultan, and he did. And through that conversion, and kind of that tradition lives on to this day. And basically they interoperate and interweave within religions, and their worship is basically being able to commit as many sins as you can to usher in the end of days, basically.
Okay.
For humanity to ascend. Like, their idea is like, let's accelerate the suffering to break out of this organic cyclical system that we're stuck in. We'll create the pressure for the good and transcendence of humanity to rise up, is basically the idea. So it's very interesting as an idea, because they agree that there's good and they recognize that they're doing evil, but they're doing evil in order for good to happen.
Okay.
You get that?
Mm-hmm. Doing evil for good. Yeah.
Because the more evil you create, the more good people that were asleep are like, what the hell? What are you doing? Like, screw that. We're fighting, you know? Meanwhile, if you keep it low key and under the surface and slowly incrementalize it, everyone gets corrupted at once. So their idea is
Like the
like,
whole Overton window idea. Yeah.
yeah. So they're like, well, we'll just be so corrupt that it'll force good people to wake up and be good. That's not really what it is, but in a nutshell, that's my understanding. I could be totally off on that, but I've looked at these guys for years, and that's kind of the general. If I had to give it in layman's terms, that's how I would put it. It's more complicated than that, but that's basically what it is. And they're a real sect. They're out there to this day. They tend to keep things within the family, incest, rape, human sacrifice, all kinds of horrible, evil, demonic stuff, like all the things you could think of.
Yeah, that's all. You know, it's like the old saying, the old Southern saying, you know, incest is best kept in the family. You know, it's right there. You know.
That's funny.
Well, I mean, if she ain't good enough for our family, how could she be good enough for yours?
So, if you were to ask me what I personally think is going on, I think Steiner has it mostly dialed in. I'm not saying he's 100% correct about everything, but his description of the angelic hierarchies are also flow out of the phenomenon that he observed. Like he basically said that we would discover this is how the universe worked, but he was talking over 100 years ago.
Okay. They come up with that concept 100 years ago is pretty cool.
He didn't come up with it. He would say because there's certain people that have what you would call, and this is, now we're getting into woo-woo land, but certain clairvoyant abilities. And it's basically certain people that can see things kind of behind the scenes. Like they can see the cause behind the effect. Like,
yeah,
they could see like you can look at people and you can just know what they're about sometimes. You can just see right through them.
Intuition, yeah.
Intuition's another word for that.
Yeah.
But what is that? How do you know those things that you can't, tangibly know? That the materials will be like, well, where's your Gantt chart? Where's your spreadsheet? How do you know these things? It's like, I don't know.
I don't know. I've always said this, when I get feelings of intuition, I've always thought of them as either your guardian angel or God is talking to you. It's how I've always felt about it. And you should always listen to intuition.
Yeah.
So people who don't usually have a really, it doesn't go well.
Yeah, especially if you're living in concrete blocks in the middle of a city, around all the noise, lights, electromagnetic interference, going to work every day in your ritual, just up and down, up and down. Have you seen these city people types? I mean, they used to talk about it back in the 80s, like country and city folk, or how different they were.
You
Those
mean like
lines kind of
yuppies?
got blurred since I was a kid, but now they're
Well, they
coming back hard.
used to have country folk, you had yuppies, city folk. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're just
You know what?
different breeds. They're like a different animal.
Yeah, it's just a complete like the new TV show that just came out. What is it? That new one about it's a western. It has
The
Kurt
one you
Russell
like.
in it.
Yeah.
Where these city guys go out into the country and they don't even know what a hornet's nest looks like, and they end up going to the bathroom and sitting on top of a hornet's nest and wondering why they got stung.
Yeah. It's things like that, but it's also like they don't even know how their own city works. They're like in a
Well, I've literally
phenomenological stage.
when I was in New York City, the one time I've actually been inside New York City, you talk to these people and they literally think the groceries come from the store, and they weren't kidding. I'm like, no, the farm, right? No, they come from the store. Well, how do they get to the store? And I wish I could make that up, but there are people that do not understand how their world works, and they're the ones that are also writing legislation too.
Now, I would say it's worse than that because all of us are that same way. Because of what I just showed you, very few people on the planet understand that.
Oh, yeah.
And that's kind of scary to me.
Very scary.
I mean, not that I'm scared, but it's like it's very it's concerning. It's just like, because they're trying, because here's what happened. They have spent so much time, this energy, this demonic, whatever this thing is. Rudolf Steiner called it Ahriman. The spirit of materialism was going to be so dense in our time that it's literally like a black hole of consciousness. It just sucks all your imagination, all your everything that makes a child wonderful just gets sucked up into this vacuum, this vacuous black hole that leads into basically a monad of just your own ego in your own world, in your own body, and your world gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And that's why people are so feral and acting out of survival all the time. That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
Instead of seeing how it's the universe is expansive, how everyone, how you can see opportunity, there's a cosmology of abundance and a cosmology of scarcity. And the vast majority of humans on the planet live within a cosmology of scarcity.
Yeah.
So the aliens are a combination of what we would call angels and demons, in my opinion. I think they're kind of right about that. But what I'm nervous about the government being the ones to shape all this. That's the problem. But I actually think they're going to need, I think there might be some forces in there that are trying to, because what comes with all this is higher technology, plasma science. Plasma science breaks our current understanding of physics like apart, totally breaks it apart.
Yeah. No, sorry I'm not being more input. I mean, I don't disagree with you, so I mean, it's not very
I'm
good.
I'm just dropping bombs on you here. Hang on. Here's a quick example, just a little short video of a plasma toroid.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the power up just a little bit. And then I'm just going to use my hands to see if I can get it to form a toroid. And I go just a bit higher. And there we are. You notice the streamers very quickly died away, and we formed this amazing self-sustained toroid. You can see it has a little bit of a wobble, but if you look at it from the side, you can see it's just floating, and it's floating and controlled by the magnetic field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the...
That's pretty cool.
So, yeah, I mean, they can and I mean, they've created they call them plasmoids, like actual little ball lightning plasmoidal beings in the lab and in containment. Like they only can exist in a vacuum, basically, like in a sustained mode, at least in a lab. In nature, we see them as in the form of ball lightning. But these things move around on their own and are almost tapping at the walls, trying to find, and it's kind of like there's no real coherent pattern to its movement. It's almost like it's self-propelled. And well, it is, but it's choosing where to go. It's very it's Steiner never really talked about dimensions. Dimensions, I would say, they're a useful term in a sense, but they also denote that basically, how we have a portal for our podcast, right?
Yeah.
These things they're not really portals. It's better to think in his terms of density of energy. Now, if you look at, have you ever seen an atom?
No.
Hang on. Come on. All right, let's see here. Where is it? That's not it. Where is it? Okay. That's That's essentially what we can see as an atom. Now, what does that look like to you?
Same thing.
Mm-hmm. So what an atom appears to be is a cross stream of positive and negative, what we call positive and negative energies, or different frequencies of energy interfacing at a specific monad, or what we call an atom. And it creates almost like a little universe in and of itself. Not a universe, it's not a good way of putting it, but a contained field. And it locks in based on but it's almost like it's bleeding in from the energy fields outside of it. It's not emanating, and it's not some static force. This is why particle science has become, like, quantum science has become so weird, because at the smaller and smaller they looked at these things as technology progressed, the fuzzier things got. They couldn't find the particle. They couldn't find the God particle. Now, they said it was the Higgs boson. Is a bunch of bullcrap. There's no reason to believe that that's the base. And they're finding stuff after that anyway. Like CERN puts out more data than any entity on the planet that we know of, and no one can really discern what the hell they're even finding. It's like a giant black hole of information that you can't tell what you're even seeing, because it's anyway. But so the theory is basically from Steiner is that an atom, like molecules, are really the smallest particle you can get. Atoms are more of a monad cross structure of energies coming in and intersecting to create a stasis field, to what we saw with that toroid. And basically what we call material, physical reality, is a combination of all that stuff, but it's bleeding in from everything outside of us to create all these quadrillion, whatever, the biggest number you can think of, little Stasi points all around the globe, our world, the universe, to create these structures. And it's all riding upon carrier waves. That's why you hear these guys say that we're in a hologram. That's what they're talking about.
Okay.
It's that technically they're kind of right. But it's not like the Matrix. Like, we're not plugged into a machine and this is all some illusory computer-generated system. But the computer may be the universe itself, or in other words, the mind of God, or what we call God, generating this all into existence. And that fits very nicely within pretty much all religions. It gets sticky when it comes to Christ for other religions, because I do think Christ was a transcendental being that was important for the evolution of the earth. Steiner would agree with that.
Mhm.
The only other group that I've seen that have any cognition of this, believe it or not, are Tibetan Buddhists. They actually seem to agree with that, but they have a different name for him. It's kind of funny. It's basically the being of love, of egoic centric love, that opened up the self need, the ability for the self to see oneself. You know how you can see yourself, Cody? You have an identity, you can see that you exist.
Okay.
That, and then through the self-sacrifice of your existence, you can extrapolate how you can see other people around you and see how they're also a part of God's mind and heart.
Okay, yeah.
That's what
All right.
Christ was trying to tell us. To get out of the tribalism, get out of all that stuff. Obviously, there's pragmatic, we got to be safe and careful. We can't just be, hippy dippy about everything. But if you emanated the right kind of energy frequency, I mean, I've heard plenty of stories of pastors or people that if they're getting mugged on the street and they deal with the person in pure love, that they just walk away. You know, that you've heard that story countless times where you're in a dangerous situation and someone's like inspired by love to just do something organically loving. The demons tend to walk away sometimes. It's like it overpowers them. They don't know what to do.
Yeah,
Other
that's
times you'll get shot in the head, and that can happen too. So, you know, but
well, on that note, no. Yeah. No, I
so
completely understand that. You know, love is a great conqueror of a lot of things.
it's the, you know, the wheel of karma. Have you heard of that idea?
Mm-hmm.
You know, you do one thing and then something else happens because of said thing and it rolls back on you, even intergenerationally. Steiner described Christ as the breaker of the wheel of karma. He broke the wheel, the cycle of history. He's the Lord of karma. That all your, you know, this is like goes to the Christian idea of lay all your sins, lay all your worries, lay it all down at his feet. Enter into the mind of Christ and be set free.
Yeah.
Don't think and be of this world. My kingdom is not of this world. It's a lot bigger. So
A lot of stuff to digest, man. I just don't know where. I'm
I
just
know.
taking it in.
I know.
So,
I
but
appreciate that.
it's pretty cool if you ask me.
It's extremely cool.
Yeah, I thought it was funny. I hadn't done this in a couple weeks. I actually come to kind of miss the all of this. I really enjoyed tonight's segments. A lot of eye-opening stuff. What do you think, Colin?
No, it's interesting to see how other people, how you react to these things and to see if I can even make it coherent because it's so much deeper and complex. I mean, it's so hard and I'm new to this too, relatively. It's only been like, I've only been clued into this in the last 3 to 4 years. Like this specific stuff. Like, I mean, I've been trying to understand physics since I was in college and I started like reading the top guys and I'm like, you guys all sound like mad prophets in the wilderness. Like, what is it that you're even talking about? And no one had a coherent story as to what they were seeing. Everyone was the string theorists were all over the place. Everyone, and it just sounded like a bunch of carpetbagging salesmen making pitches of things that they had no fundamental idea of what they were even looking at. And turns out my gut was right about that. They don't. Because if they understood this, all of academia is going to get blown up, like metaphysically. Because they've been trying to convince everyone that the world's made up of a bunch of little billiard balls bouncing together in a cosmos of randomness.
Yeah, that's the whole like Big Bang Theory. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, or
No,
just
you can look at it and be like, that's not true. It just isn't. And we're at the point where it isn't true. Like you literally, I mean, just this is why I keep showing people this is like, look at that and tell me how that's random. Please, somebody.
exactly.
It's absurd.
It's actually pretty badass if you ask me. So I think that's pretty cool. Uh-oh. Evidently, we've lost Colin. See if he comes back here.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
It's okay.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely no, it's just use your eyeballs and then also use your heart, what you feel, what your intuition tells you. Like listen to that, but then also look at with your eyes at what they're trying to make sense of. They want us to believe that we're in a cosmos of a little blue ball floating in space, and the odds of us existing are astronomical. Therefore, we have to give ourselves over to the oligarchs and upload our consciousness to AI. while they jet off to Mars or the moon or God knows where. I don't know what these guys, I mean, these people are literally insane who run the planet, because they've been operating on a system of materialism where they live in a world of billiard balls randomly colliding with each other, absent of any transcendental force. And they cannot handle the fact that they're dead wrong about it. And they're going to be proven wrong.
Well, yeah. I've often said that all of these things, environmentalism, all this woke stuff, everything is an attempt to replace God and come up with their own religion.
Everything that isn't God is an attempt to replace God. Yeah. Because God is in many ways everything. I know people don't like it when I say that, but it's like, I just don't think I think it's important to have the personhood of God, but the Godhead is way more. But anyway, I'm sorry, I'm extrapolating. No, you're 100% right. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but I keep an eye on the culture war aspect of things. They're dying. They are bleeding out hard. The left-wing materialist types are just bleeding out super hard.
Well, because it's nonsense. It's just crazy.
Well, they did a psychological blitzkrieg attack with us, and then it's shaping operations over the last 20 years with Hollywood to create the conditions and set the younger generations up to accept some nonsense like this. All the teachers are brainwashed and insane, so that's not a problem. And then the adults were like busy making money, so no one was paying attention. And now that people are paying attention, it's starting to fall apart, and it will. Here's what I'm worried about. Not worried, but I'm not worried about this. It's going to naturally happen. The new breed of churches that are going to flow out of this are, I'm afraid they're going to take on the shadow that they were fighting they become a little too right wing, they become almost a little too political. Like that becomes like, I wonder if politics has now become the new religion in many ways.
Well, I mean, you have these people are protesting ICE, and they are so feral now that they are attacking and biting and trying to tear the flesh off of these. They're literally biting them. And you can't get from that point to this point without having some
reaction. Yeah.
Well, they're so hyped up. And then on top of all that, you have
it's all being funded, organized.
It's all funded, and then it's become their religion.
Well, I'm talking about the conservative. I'm talking about like the aftermath. I'm thinking downrange, like years from now. Not even years. It's happening now. That how the Christian church is going to re-envelop itself around, because in my opinion, anything left wing is going to be so culturally toxic in the coming years because of all the hell they've put us all through and the insanity and the vapidness and just listening to these shrill idiots just take over our minds for the last, I mean, really my entire life has been surrounded by these kind of people. And people in my generation, a lot of them, even the ones that are Democrats, I've had enough of it. We're just sick of these people. They need to shut up and go away. We just want to live people just want to get on with their lives, especially after a certain age. Once people hit 30, they're like, okay, I'm getting old. I need to start having kids. Like,
well,
enough of this nonsense. Like,
what, the week after next, I turn 44. And there's so much stuff that I come across now that's just like, I just wore out. I just don't want to engage because I already know the outcome. I can play the movie in my head. And it's just like, why even engage?
Well, that's why I would encourage you to I have found a lot of peace and solace because I still have a need to be somewhat I hate to say this, it sounds so stupid, but because it is stupid, by the way, intellectually stimulated to try to, like, I just don't like stupid shit. It just annoys me. It's annoying to play along with it. But when it comes to my kids, it's great. Like I love doing, like I separate it. It's like there's a difference between, I don't need to be in high intellect. I can play at the level Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I like playing like dumb kid games. They're not dumb. They're actually
But
really.
it's not dumb.
It's not dumb. No, it's very highly
Because-
intelligent. Yeah.
Because they're learning.
Mhm.
That's the thing is it's like, when I go play with my young daughter, she's 3.5, watching her work through it. So it's not a dumb game. It's
No.
actually a lot of fun.
No, I'm just
It's just-
saying dumb. No, it's very real, and it's very. You see their minds light up when they hit like, aha, I see it. You know, it's
Or like when
that's-
they're holding their hand and they're like working through it. It's the most fun I've had in a long time, and it's a really big distraction. Just spending
Nah.
time and enjoying my kids.
No, that's the real. That's the
No,
real stuff.
from reality, from the rest of what's going on. I just spend time with my
No, me
kids.
too. I can't. I mean, I just listen to stuff because I can while I'm at work during some like when I'm doing drudgery work, and I'm like, "Nah, I got nothing else to do. I'll listen to this or whatever." But I'm sick of it. I'm like, but I also understand it. It sucks, but there is an importance to politics as well because politics is where will meets reality. What is our will? And have we found the people that can affect our will through agency? And we're never going to take over the system, but it's a good way to influence the system and mitigate damage and also disarm the enemy. But no, I would suggest that, you know, if you're looking for, we can talk more about this offline, but there's so much beautiful stuff out there to look at that I'm showing you that this isn't coming from me. Like I
no.
didn't discover this. This has been the work of countless thousands of people over the decades.
Yeah, it's just a building block they built onto it.
Yeah. And it's beautiful work. And it really opens I broke down in tears when I realized how merciful this whole thing was. And I didn't realize, it felt like it was all suffering for a long time, but it really isn't. There's
Well, I'm just
so
glad
much
you've
mercy.
gotten into that I'm glad you gotten into that mindset because the other one was scary. You know.
Yeah. No, the mind's
It was pretty
powerful. The mind is very powerful.
No, I mean, I'm just glad that, you've gotten out of that hole. It seems, you've realized your kids are kind of your salvation.
They're a big part of it, but I also was panicking because I didn't know what kind of world to hand off to them. I didn't know what to tell them about like how, because I didn't want to lie to them, but I'm also like, well, how does this all work? Because I'm looking through all the science books. I'm like, wrong. It's like, I'm like, there's nothing like I can't, it's like, or history books, wrong. The only thing left is math, and most math is a waste of time anyway.
Especially that Common Core crap.
You don't need to learn. I mean, the amount of stuff you need to learn in school is probably below 10%. Literature, reading, not just reading for the sake of reading, but learning how to integrate linguistic logic and use your imagination to paint the picture of what you're seeing is the most important thing for a child to learn. Learn how to speak, read, and write. Those are my three. That's it. Math, it's fine. That's a cursory side project. If you learn to do those three things, math is no problem. It's easy.
Well, I think we're going to leave it there. I think that's a good stopping point. So if you got this far, check out in our description down below a link to our Patreon, and we're still trying to get to 10. We get to 10 subscribers. We're going to give away a shirt of one of our viewers' choice on there. You can choose one of the shirts on our store. Check the link in the below for to our store, or and our link to the Patreon's down there. Colin, you got anything you want to add on their way out?
No, just thank you, God, for everything.
God
Help
is
us
good
not
and
to
God
all
is
go crazy,
merciful.
please.
Well, yeah. So we really appreciate you guys. We wouldn't have any of this without you guys watching. And the fact that you guys watch it all is still amazing to me, and I appreciate it. So on that, we'll see you on the next rabbit hole. I think with the next one will be with Corey, because he has his election day coming up. So stand by for that. We're going to review what the election brings out here, at least New Mexico. I don't know what's going on in
Do you think we'll
Texas,
do
but
it the day after the election, or
we could do it on the day of the election. I know we'll put a post up about that so people know what's going on.
I mean, election night? I mean, if we did it at election night, we probably could get real-time results.
I'll look into that. I know I have some links to the Secretary of State. Maybe we can get some information real time. So we'll go from there.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night.